So in English first, the prayers, the Lojong prayers while contemplating bodhicitta. Glorious sacred Lama, the essence of all Buddhas of the three times and the embodiment of the four eyes, grant me the blessings of empowerment. Bless me that the extraordinary realization of the profound path arises in my mind stream. Kind Guru, grant your blessings that your enlightened qualities of bodhicitta arise in my mind stream. Through your great wisdom, you have realized nirvana. Through your great compassion, you willingly embrace samsara. Through your skill and methods, you have realized that they are no different. Fearless teacher, at your feet I bow. I claim to be arousing bodhicitta, but still it has not arisen in me. I have trained in the path of the six perfections, but have remained selfish. Bless me and small-minded beings like me, that we may train sublime bodhicitta. Somme lame shabla chatsara lo semjo jepara lomyang kepa chenro lama lopyang rangye kadana lojong semye na jangjo semye jungwa jingye. Now meditate briefly on bodhicitta. Kunjin Chudi Jagola, Charles, and Chebishiza Kunjatini, the Tutio, the Duzipa, Salam, Temba, Zepa, the Gimel, Pala, Charles, and Guinness,
Just Talamgo, Kanaka, Japan Tajimba, Jimmy German Yogola, Kucha, the Jevis, Boshivala, another two people from Shamaro, some of the Jimmy Chujo, Kucha, Chibit, the Warren on the Jiro, Zuba Jimino of the Lumbo Binyamala, Kucha, Tara, some Mala, of the Chukutamba, Long Jamba, Yamin Akamo, to Yamin, the breaking yellow, Kada Chunikum, no, the children Nagi, Shatarachi, never Tonjan of the Jamba. Or Jenjim Jala, Kujata, Tui, Chigdun, Repair, Shingi, Losa. Alla Società, very young. That ring around the Lojong Shadia Binangas. And it that Timon Lojong Battles of Stone, and Timon Mayimba. And it also in the Tiquachimbo Shangju Senjik. Comes upon a day in Bares.
So again, we're in our teachings on the 100 days of Lojong, mind training. This particular tradition of Lojong, we've gone through the outer general preliminary practices, how to train in those as part of our Lojong, and now we are in the extraordinary inner preliminary practices, namely the main practice of bodhicitta, training our mind in our precious mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta.
Ta tela ta ani changchuji ani semje ba nu tela tene ta da nga so semje nu ta labja semje labja le ta trenji ko se pa tene labja ani ni bares.
So within the sections on bodhicitta, we begin with the training in how to engender bodhicitta, give rise to bodhicitta, the actual engendering of bodhicitta, and then follow that with the particular trainings or precepts to train in once bodhicitta has arisen. So from among those two, we are in the phase of the second, the particular trainings or precepts to be engaged. Dakshin Nyamba Sarsa, and Dakshin Jeva Susumari. Consolatina. Just refreshing our memory on where we got to last week. We went through the exchanging of self and other, correct? And then did we start, or we went to equalizing self and other, right? Definitely went through that. Did we begin or finish exchanging self and other? I don't think so. That's in Jared Day and good.
That's us. I want to train around to what any young. No, Changchu Senjik, the name of Lojalas. Any that Niba Daye Jeva Senate, that Kazantambo. Daye Nyambas, and Dadam, Jenny Bote, Yani, Karisegora, any Cosada Mason, Nyambala, Jajeni, Tosjeva, that ring as a Karisena, and Marantan, Jun, dancing it, Antamuchi, dancing in the town, any Janakos, Jaji, this Jeva. Taya, Marantu, Perna, any Tata Marantu, Taya, Java said, Maran Desate, any Jaya, Yan Desatella, Maran Deche. That was Jaja, Taya, Java said, yes.
So today, we'll be continuing with the trainings or the precepts of training in bodhicitta of aspiration, aspirational bodhicitta. How to train in bodhicitta within the context of Lojong mind training. So we've arrived at the second of the precepts, or second of the particular trainings, which is the training in exchanging self and other. So last week we discussed the first precept, which is the training in equalizing self and other, which basically comes down to eliminating any sense of elevated status with regards to others and equalizing our status, our place with others, our perception of ourself and others as being equal, training to gain that perception. So for us, generally, we will tend to put ourselves first, think of ourselves first. And others, well, others are thought of as being other than oneself. Me and that which is connected to me is considered first, thought of first. That's just the normal, ordinary way of going about life. So the training in exchanging self and other really is literally training to exchange one's own place or one's own seat with the seat or the place of an other, and then taking the place of the other to train in this.
그래서 다 나랑도 되네 다 세력 투문 매라니 즉 얘네 얘네들마 다 체드세 얘네 단이 기고 얘네 야부지 좀 얘네 단이 기고는 자가지 통 단이 앙당고 차나 삼박에 얘네 가서 권다 농체 얘네 내가 시체다 그래서 제대로 다다고 봐도 말한 소가 다도야 로요 말 현도야 로요 말 하나가 되는 다다고 봐도 말한 소가 되는 코발라 참 대박이 얘네 정말 뭐 그냥 대박이
So for us, individual, from beginningless time up until now, we've denigrated others in various ways. We've had our perception of other and others has been that they're lesser than us, less significant, less important. We've focused on ourselves first, thinking primarily how wonderful it would be if that were to happen for me, if things go well for me, if I were to gain this status, if I were to have victory, whatever form it may take. With that as our fundamental motivation and intention arising, then we've acted based on that intention of if I can get for myself first. So with that as our fundamental intention, wandering through samsara from beginningless time, really up until now, we've still not been able to accomplish our own well-being or the well-being of others. And based on this way of acting, then we wandered in samsara endlessly and experienced all sorts of different torment and suffering.
라니 상지 제바의 연도는 됐다. 즉 랑가서다 상지네 건조 계산을 하이도 나서 종을 하셨어. 맞아라면 말은 내가 말하는 것이었어.
Exact opposite of this. Buddha Shakyamuni, enlightened beings, with the intention, with the focus towards altruistic endeavor, to benefit others, to accomplish the welfare of others, then they likewise do accomplish the welfare of others, and then kind of as a side effect of that, they perfectly accomplish their own well-being. They reach complete enlightenment. So while their actions are based on the intention, and the actions serve to, are intended to be of benefit to others, solely focused on the situation of others and to benefit others, then just as happenstance, they gain the great bonus of Buddhahood, enlightenment. But for us, it's the opposite in every way. we work extensively for our own welfare and not accomplishing the welfare of others, we also miss the mark in accomplishing our own welfare. There's a story about the first time that the Buddha gave rise, truly engendered the mind of exchanging self and other. It's relayed in Words of My Perfect Teacher and also in the Jataka tales of the story of the previous lifetimes of the Buddha before reaching complete enlightenment as Shakyamuni. It's regarding the first moment of his engendering pure bodhicitta, also engendering the true intention to take on the suffering of others, to exchange self and other. He was born in hell at the time. The hell of a plowshare, flaming plowshares or something. Anyway, his karmic lot in that hell was to pull a plow, instead of a horse, to pull in the plow. He was there with a partner. They were to pull it together. The partner's name was Karmarupa. They were experiencing tremendous suffering, being beaten, and the load of the plow was more than the two of them could carry together, move together. So, in a moment of kind of clear cognizance, the Buddha gave rise to great compassion towards Karmarupa, thinking that, and recognizing also that them together, there's no way they can get the work done, move the plow at all. So really, there's no, why should they both be suffering there together? So he thought, well, I'll just stay here and suffer. Let Karmarupa go. It's not helping any him being here. I'll just take his load on my back. So he thinks this, and he shouts out to the denizen of hell that's kind of beating them, scolding them, and torturing them. Yells out to him, asking that the load of Karmarupa be put on his back, put his yoke on me. Which makes the hell being extremely infuriated And he yells out, it's your own individual karma, or the repercussions, the ripening of your own individual karma that you're experiencing. And who is there that can take the karma of another on top of them? And yelling this at the Buddha, then he hit him in the head with a hammer. And the Buddha falls unconscious or dies and is immediately reborn in the celestial realm. I think it was the heavenly realm of the 33. He was immediately reborn in. All based on the power of his intention, the true engendering of bodhicitta, having this mindset of truly exchanging his lot with that of another. That from that moment, the entirety of the karma, that were negative karma of that keep him in hell, was purified in that moment. Point being that this training in the exchanging of self and other as a practice of bodhicitta is crucial, extremely important. In fact, many of the Kadampa masters, the kind spiritual teachers of the Kadampa tradition of old, really taught this as their primary meditation exercise. So generally for individuals, sometimes we talk about the Mahayana type of individual, meaning that some individuals are naturally disposed toward the Mahayana. Some sentient beings in their experience, they have various different levels of mental capacity and disposition. Where some individuals are naturally inclined towards benefiting others, naturally altruistic, and innately don't think much of their own purpose, right? Self-obsessed. And then other individuals seem to naturally have absolutely none of that at all. Just pointing out that with individual dispositions, there are many different classes of individual. Long ago, there was a Kadampa master, Geshe Chikawa Yeshi Dorji, on one occasion heard a profound single verse of teaching taught by great master Longtongpa. It was something like, give all benefit and gain to others, take all loss and defeat upon oneself. Hearing this, he immediately recognized the profundity of that teaching, decided that he needed to seek out the master that taught this, who held this Dharma, Longtongpa. So he started to ask around about how he could find this teacher, until someone told him that Longtongpa had passed away already. Longtongpa had passed away. Chikawa asked, well, who holds this teaching? Who is his kind of top student? So he was told Shirawa, Master Shirawa, was his close student, and go meet with him. So Chikawa goes to meet with Shirawa. And at the time, Shirawa was teaching to a massive audience, hundreds or thousands of individuals, and Chikawa sits in for several days and listens to the teachings, and after several days, he doesn't hear anything about this particular Dharma he was after. So then after a few days, he decides, okay, I need to ask him about this. So he gains audience, and he requests audience. May I ask you a question? May have a little interview, discuss this stuff? Chirawa agrees, so they meet in his room, and he says, some time ago I saw this teaching from Longtongpa, the give all gain and victory to others, and take all denigration and loss upon oneself. Do you guys practice this? Or do you train in this teaching? And Chirawa replies, regardless of whether or not you like this teaching or not, if your aim is to gain enlightenment, to realize Buddhahood, then it's indispensable. You must train in this Dharma. You must have this teaching. And therefore, it is like our main practice. So then Chikawa asks him, well then, will you teach it to me? Will you teach me this Dharma? And Chirawa replies, okay, I can teach you this, but it's going to take some time. Are you able to stay with me? Can you handle meditating for long, training in this, cultivating this for a very long period, for years? Chikawa says, yeah, I can do that. I can meditate. So then he stays with him for years with Sharawa, and training in this, meditating on this particular teaching, this particular line, until reaching the full culmination of his clinging and attachment to self, his ego clinging being completely vanquished.
네, 나 Khenpo Ngagchung 때문에 들리는 거 좀 빼지시에요. 빼지. 아니, 다 빼는 거라면서 다 빼지서 되니 민니, 그봐. 나서 빼 님 직가서 빼는 다 그거 있는 다 빼는 님 직가지고 그자로지. 다 거기 냠는 거고 옆에. 되니 추제를 파도나 미치게 한국에 추코스. 야, 한국에 무다 거서 남의 추파, 저러다 남아 표진들 놀아. 되니 제게 한국에 추코스. 아니, 추에 컬러를 다 찍고 있다는 강가 참여하다 한국에 강가 참여해서 다 코지게 거기까지 컬러들이 가르쳐 거래. 아니, 그런 게 다지 얘기하네. 네? 다 거 한국 집 가르쳐. 다 차상 때는 코강가 찾으러 와. 아니, 나도 가야 돼. 저기 코를 봐야 돼. 저기 코랑 거. 되니? 그래서 다 저기 되는 거 때 슉쳐져. 저기 때서 야자지. 되니? 도스게 코라니 대화 되냐. 나고 집 거야기 대화 되다. 냠는 놈. 저기 다 때서 살아 돼. 냠는 놈. 다 때는 다게 냠바서. 배는 되려버렸어. 되니? 나당 생기한 탐지. 같이 가서 냠바를 되니. 되니 지고이나 냠는 놈, 도고이나 냠는 놈. 맞아 도스게 편sun 삽시지야지. 어떨 때 다시 냠바도 빼시. 자.
Well, Ngagchung gave some analogies for how to understand these phases of training in exchanging self and other and equalizing self and other and so forth. So the first, the analogy for understanding the equalizing self and other. So imagine there's two individuals, good friends in fact. They're wandering about in Tibet somewhere, and they cross a river or a stream or something, and one of them loses his shoes down the river. So his shoes are carried away. Now he has no shoes. He's walking out, the mountains in Tibet, so the little pebbles and stuff, thorns are hurting his feet. So his friend, they're quite close. They're good buddies. So his friend has compassion for him. Oh, he's lost his shoes. It's going to hurt his feet. So he thinks about what to do. Well, if I give him both my shoes, then my feet will hurt too. His feet will be better, but then my feet are going to hurt. So what to do? So then he thinks, oh, I'll give him one of my shoes. You can have one of my shoes, and then, we'll go about this journey together, experiencing everything equally. Where I have my one shoe on, I'll lean on that one a little more because I won't get stabbed by thorns. Then I kind of delicately step with my bare foot, and that'll still hurt a little bit, but we'll be going through it together. Whatever sufferings experienced, it'll be equal, experienced together. Whatever happiness or well-being of having a shoed foot, we'll go through that together too. So this idea of experiencing whatever comes up in life equally together kind of fits with this. There's the analogy for equalizing self-knowledge.
저는 진짜 콜 뺏겨서 대마대 근데 이제는 쇼키한테 강한 데서 나랑 콜 당고도 받잖아 나한테는 배는 다이에 지하생이 다 뺏더라고 진짜.
So then exchanging self and other, that same individual with a stronger fortitude of heart thinks, well, geez, we're still, both hurting here. Really, I can bear it. I'll be the only one to suffer and give the happiness and well-being. Give both my shoes away. I can handle this, no problem. Let them be happy. So then in that way, literally giving away one's own happiness and willingly taking on the burden of whatever form of torment or suffering based on one's stronger power of heart, stronger fortitude. So that's exchanging self and other.
네, 다 된다고 지. 다 말하는 저거 배나해니. 다 나의 예도 값을 당분간서 쌓는 되나. 가려서 주도 당고. 다 쌓는 주도 당고로 봐. 아주 그만 다 찍고를 막 쌓는 시행에 쌓는 되는 여가지고. 가려서 잡고선 생계 담지. 아니, 나랑 새로 통하는 많이 있어. 그래 봐. 아니, 많이 배값서 아니 배는 까진 청고지. 배는 되는 나랑 저가. 아니, 나다 배는 지상 나랑 저 다다 하마. 아니 당 나랑 저 괜고 내가 나오지. 차지거나 다 나랑 아마 되게 나랑 소중지. 뭐 좋은 거. 아니 나 다다 타고 있자. 나다 아마 게임한테 다 그렇게 강해다. 동하게 나와 있거나 근데 아메에게 지금 알아서 보면 다한테 조고도 써봐. 근데 나는 그 가르칠 거야. 근데 가발 코드 보고는 루페야 참아 땅고 차원은 차 가다 아마는 나사 조고는 가르고 아마는 가서 로바 찍고야지. 차도. 근데 아마 그치야. 가르스는 아민가 뭐 배면서 가르는 길에 평에도 반 제고서 내가 같이 다니는 거서 되지 거. 알아서 tendency 제제는 아니 당고 마시지 아니 마이 가진 체지 그러 다다 아니 코는 저거요래 나 다다 돼서 당고요래 야 나가 다리지 듣는 얘한테 막 왜도 와 말은 원게 네 봐봐래 네 구구도 삼지 전선도 그냥 너한테 지고
For us, when we're training in this exercise of exchanging self and other, training in exchanging self and other, then really we need to have a particular mindset. Really we need to have a change of mindset, transform our mindset. So how do we do that? So the way prescribed here. So initially, when our mind is focused on ourself, that's what we need to change. Change our focus away from ourselves. The first way that we do that is to train in perceiving all sentient beings as having been our mother. Perceiving that when they were our mother, they were extremely kind to us. Like our mother in our current lifetime. Kind and loving, nourishing us, teaching us, giving us the best of whatever they have. So to think that in our current lifetime, if our mother who's been kind to us, loving to us, nurtured us, is now quite old, feeble, sick, unwell, then of course we would want to help her. Help her in part based on our sense of gratitude, our great gratitude towards what our mother has given us, and leading to this wish to repay the great kindness of our mother. So in our own life, or now this happens, and our own mother's sick in terrible situation, poor, whatever, then we would repay that kindness in whatever way possible that we have. Give her a place to stay, give her money, support her financially, food, whatever that is, we would help her however we could, just naturally based on the mindset of having a sense of gratitude and wish to repay the kindness and love. That's kind of the normal operating way of how we work. Once we recognize the kindness of a being towards us, then there's this natural sense of gratitude and wish, longing to repay that, to be kind in return. So we extend that to all sentient beings. So again, first we train to perceive all sentient beings as our mother, or our parent, and then we remember their kindness. And then give rise to the sense of longing to repay it. So this is the process of how we can think and transform our mindset, our thinking. All focused on the goal of giving rise to this intention to repay kindness, to return our sense of gratitude. Another example. So we're in our home and fire starts. Our house is all of a sudden blazing on fire. So immediately, to save ourselves, we leap out the window, out of the inferno of our home. So we've jumped out the window, we've saved ourselves, and then get our wits about us and think about it for a second, and our elderly mother is stuck inside the house. So in such a situation, then potentially, or maybe likely, without thinking anything further than that, you immediately jump back into the house in an attempt to rescue your mother, or whomever may be in there. Even if you feel there's very little likelihood or it's impossible to actually save them, you'll likely jump in with no thought or concern about burning yourself trying to save them. So someone that acts like that, and even in a worldly context, they're thought of very well. They're called a hero or something. They acted heroically. When we say they acted heroically, based upon the fact that they abandoned their own welfare, their own well-being for the sake of another, for the sake of their mother, for the sake of someone else. That's what makes someone heroic, even in a worldly sense. And individuals that don't do that, that save themselves, somebody that would jump out the window and then not think at all, not go back in to rescue their mother or whoever else, that is, of course, thought of very poorly. So they have no brain, no mind about them at all. They're a coward and so on and so forth. So anyway, that type of mindset of going back in with no concern for burning yourself to save others, even if in the likelihood of its impossibility, that really is the mindset of Mahayana, the great vehicle. That's what we're to train in engendering. Where also, for example, if our mother in this lifetime is suffering tremendously, has a terrible situation, and good things are happening for us, our life's going well, then really how would that feel? What would we do with that?
다 두생인상스 다 나란즈스 하디 나란가 아마데 가진신 보이바나예 야 나란서바 아니 제가 하나가 아마데야 지과 샤요 가게 좀 샤. 또 스제사모타나 괜히 제발 채토야 말았어. 너네가 가진신 보 다디 가진신 보다 너만 근데 사모타나 생기한 탐지 양도는 제일 나은다. 마마죠 바지 요사마. 대대 예 말죠 생기한 탐지. 나는 콜레게 담는 욕이야. 동안은 욕이야. 말은 찍고 타바 톱네요. 왜 말입니다. 근데 소가 네 되네 가서다 생기한 탐지. 이제 나라서 아니 야 샤초 토바시 동안에 들어와지 내가 때문에 지하고서 딱 나도 생기게 되지.
Thinking on our mother in this lifetime, the kindness, the love that they've imparted to us, then recognizing all sentient beings, perceiving all sentient beings to be have been our mother in previous lifetimes, then to reflect on the fact that to perceive them as having been at least as kind as the mother in our lifetime now. Perceiving them in this way, without any difference, the same in this sense. The kindness is the same. They're the same in having been our mother. So when we truly give rise to this perception, perceiving all beings to have been our kind mother, then how could we ever think to abandon all beings, to leave these beings behind in samsara, to leave them to endure their suffering and torment, while I strive for gaining liberation alone for myself? Then when we perceive beings in this way, then we see that our own solitary liberation is really kind of pointless, becomes meaningless to us. So it's really in contemplating in this way that we're engendering bodhicitta. Engendering bodhicitta, thinking truly in our minds, may all sentient beings gain liberation. May not one be left behind. May they all find stable happiness, well-being, and enlightenment.
다 도스제는 등당하라서 sem바데 도스제는 결국 다 유득 없어나 혹스카나 비어토마 당봉하나 좀 삼로 때네 다 배는 다 현재 와서 다 가서 배는 just 나랑 게 애니 뭐가 된제제네 오늘 되는 나랑 되네 다 대화당 생겨 가지고 생겨 담지 대화 동하다 강렬당 그래서 좀 참는 중요해요 something 근데 정말 또 온라인에 받듯이
So this full transformation of mindset doesn't happen all at once. It's not just suddenly that we truly have this perception. We have to train in it. You have to contemplate on it, and then gradually one's mind truly changes. So initially you train in this. The first step of taking it as a practice now. So we've thought about it, we've contemplated on it, and then you train in Tonglen, practice of sending and receiving. where you are exchanging one's own happiness and well-being for the suffering and problems and difficulties of others based on your respiration, where you're exhaling. On your exhale, you're perceiving that all of your own happiness and virtue and positivity are being offered, given away with your breath to other beings. And in return, you are willingly absorbing, taking on with your inhale, all of the suffering, negativity, problems of sentient beings. And by doing this, what happens is gradually, slowly, our own cherishing of ourselves, our own ego clinging, dissipates, begins to weaken naturally. And the cherishing of others, the focusing on others, naturally, progressively develops. Shenki Karinche. Another contemplation, a different contemplation we can engage in relation to this, is contemplating on all the various forms of the kindness of others. For example, thinking of whatever it is now that I have that's going well, whatever qualities, whatever education, whatever it is, abundance, good things I have going right now, has come about from the kindness of others. We've been taught by teachers. We're afforded our body with the freedoms and advantages from our parents. We didn't learn anything, receive any teachings on the sublime Dharma, like innately from our own side. This was afforded to us by others. So really contemplating on the reality, the fact that whatever it is that we have good in our life that's going well, really is contingent upon the kindness of others, came about from others.
When you can call it in the when you can be taller, because Toby and Kosain and Gedra in the Longjo in Yorba in the Tanchi, the Nimazo Chip, Yen, the Nimazo Yongo would want. In this legend, Tatanga the bush your son, the Tanchi son of the father, Yen, Benjamin.
In a worldly sense, our worldly qualities, things, superficial worldly things, or whatever they may be, whatever power, ability, status, level, renown, riches, material things that we have, all of that really comes about based on others, in connection to and based on others. Maybe now we think we're extremely good-looking, pretty, beautiful. That, too, in fact, comes about based on and in connection to others. Everything comes about to others.
Young sons on the pen, you get John to the Mamma. John Sudamchi, not any John Jotane, your Daniels. Bechayana, and around to get some blood out of China. Malak it in Ama. In it, our currents of chicken was bad, getting around to Parasite. More than that, I keep them turned over to the dinner. Bad the name, control Sabo, dancing chamber. In it, not bad, little with a total long answer. 가령에서는 뭐라 가르쳐도 제어서는 뭐라고 또 부모님이 쳐도 그래서 다 그런 그 결론교던 게 아니 토소 다 그런 그 배에 벌 남아래 보면도 동물을 막발래 보면도 커서 남은 저 보면도 근데 아마게 보고 그 쳐도 근데 다 뭐라는 거 세번더니 와서 가네 잡더니 그래서 보고라 보jon데 근데 이제 뭐라게 나라서 가르쳐 그러고야 특조과 또 근데 뭐봐 잡세라 야 근데 남르지 아마 얘네 정서 얘네 아마 가르쳐도 제발서 그럼 보기 쳐도 제서
Not just the qualities and good things, but also often faults come about based on others. Faults often can come about based on others in connection to us. Sometimes their attempts at kindness towards us or connection to us. One particular example we find in the life story of Milarepa in relation in particular to his mother. His mother, when we read about the life of his mother, she was an extreme ego clinging to self, and was very irritable, angry, easy to get angry. But really, all of that, all of her faults, were based on her connection to her children, to her son and daughter, where the uncle and the father passed away. Uncle stole all of their inheritance and left them in their terrible situation, not allowing for Milarepa to receive anything from his family inheritance, to engage in the family, and the daughter as well, stricken in poverty. So she really struggled based on that, and her own faults came about based on that, based on her love for her children. And then she taught and worked as hard as she could to teach and bring about her vengeance upon the uncle and the family, sending Milarepa to learn, to study extensively black magic, arts of cursing and black magic, where he eventually came back and through his powers of abilities to curse them, his own faults of cursing the family and bringing about hailstorms to kill them all. And that likewise came about based on his connection towards his mother, his love towards the mother. We see too where faults come about based on this too.
Well, that's the number. Then the chicken was a simple. Yeah, you got to do the chicken. I was not a child. I saw you going at the answer. And of course, come my job, come my jobs and love with the jazz and your walk down and walk down. And then drum, and Cause it up at just a put down and then chair. Cause it up at just a chip. The chicken was so good at joining.
It's really thinking that the plight and the suffering of others has come about in connection to us, that really that's our fault in some way, perceiving in that way. For example, we can think maybe it's true too. Sentient beings suffering in the lower realms, sentient beings in hell, hungry ghost realms, predator realms, animal realm. Maybe the actions they committed were based on trying to protect us, trying to do something good for us, trying to care for their own children. Or for us, when we were their own children, they would lie, cheat, steal, trick others for our own sake, for their children's sake. So perceiving in this way, and then really giving rise to a sense of the actions that others have engaged in, the negative actions, are connected to me and were in some way my fault.
Well, that those can some of them were in us. And I said, Solid, and yet, I got it. 대때 다 생겨서 시바 말해봐 또 뭐고 왕게 어렵죠. 나타다 김생 때서 신경 성가 다 배제해서 생겨 담지지 또 설레 다 개와도 대화 담지 생겨 담지를 톱진 생겨 담지 사제지 걸어도 gemaro 얘네 대다 담지가 당나서 동화에서 담지 랑이 서로 매제네 얘네 랑가 다지 중요한데 수어제 생겨 담지 대화도 내가 좀 강마로 대나기 직제나 삼바케는 기도 표 삼바케는 또 시켰네 근데 다 다에 제와고 로종지도 된다는 거지 얘네 그래서 그래서 나리 제와도 나리 현지 그래서 나리 현지 받을 줄 알아
The Dharma Shinji.
나리 현지 참
Contemplate in these ways, think in these ways. And in particular, thinking the plight of sentient beings wandering endlessly in samsara comes about from their own lack of understanding, lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, their ignorance. It's based on that they will endlessly continue to wander in samsara, suffering, experiencing suffering. But now, my own situation is slightly different. I have a bit of an understanding of how this whole process works. I have some knowledge and understanding. Therefore, I take it upon myself to work to alleviate the suffering of others. Training in this practice of visualizing, to take on the suffering, the ignorance, the negativity of all beings, and in return give them all sources of happiness, well-being, virtue, positivity, understanding, knowledge from one's own side. So training in this way and then adding on top of that this sense of aspiration and this true intention, this thought of how wonderful it would be if I could actually give my happiness and well-being to others, give my roots of virtue to others. How wonderful it would be if all the suffering of sentient beings they didn't have to experience, but I were able to bring it upon myself alone to ripen on me. How wonderful if all sentient beings could truly abandon suffering and the roots of suffering and gain liberation and enlightenment. So we train in this way and then think in this way and have this sense of aspiration, intention in our mind. And so this type of thinking and aspiration is getting into the third phase of cherishing others more than oneself.
yang bena ngarang na hedang ke to shu chim wo je so na ne ram sang ne ngarang de mo shi je deni dari ne hedang for cha 생계 탐지 hedang de ni hedang ko so le je da 생계 탐지 ke hedang de dari ngarang zo ko de da ni ma shu je da ge hedang de de 생계 탐지 되는 거랑 좀 아니 해당 maybe 내가 토마 쉬어져서 생계 해당 탐지 잘 라는 게 해당 되기 때문에 다 생계 탐지 된다 보지요 고쳐서 삼아지지 대저보지 아 되는 게 되는 배는 더자 해당 더자 또 몰라서 옛날에 또 얘기하죠.
Additionally, train in moments of anger arising, or any of the afflictive emotions. So in the moment of anger arising in us, then first, most important, we need to recognize it. Oh, anger has arisen in me. The afflictive emotion of anger has arisen. Then we couple that recognition with the thought of, may I take on the afflictive emotion of anger experienced by all sentient beings. May I take that upon myself. May the ripening of engaging in or experiencing anger of all sentient beings ripen solely within me, really having this thought, this ideation. May my single experience of anger suffice for the anger and afflictive emotions of all sentient beings. And in coupling this with also, may my moment of anger, by my arising in anger right now, may I take on the anger of all sentient beings, and may all sentient beings have the state of peace and happiness that is completely free of any sense of anger. So we can join this practice to all of our experiences of the afflictive emotions. Not just anger, but with desire and ignorance. Anytime that those arise in us, we can train with them in this way.
Yang pena chayana, ngarang lula peta ni nasa chimpu jaguyo na. Anta tang nasa jaguyo na. Donga di nyawe. Ha, donga de, ha, pena. Ngali tuwa di sayame, samni donga di jawe na, samge nyama. Donga de la chen doya da, donga de la. Ni, to kaya yo mar. Ina yang ke me kwachi pa preach. Nege tenen nazo bi. Sentien tam chek. Nani nasa dam. Nani te tam che mara tsmi ba shoji. Karon dela hakki semedo. Sentien tam che tenen nasa me dewaji toba shoji. Samni 피양의 샘도 쓰지 왜야 토바이나 내마이나 나랑 그 샘때가 다디 말이 두가지 매 상경의 샘 당한진이라고 지고다 내가 참 즉 샘제이잖아 해토비 로지 제바이나 나랑 그 나사때 영상의 로지 샘바테 지고질 반 요를 투고도 와 그래서 딱 로에 제다래도 와 근데 동안의 승인한테 죽는거라고 얘기하는 따뜻하게라고 되겠다.
Or something happens and we're really sick, experiencing some sort of serious physical ailment, sickness, suffering, torment in our body. Sometimes when this happens, something goes wrong with our body, we're really sick, something's happened, then yes, we're going to need to experience that. There's kind of no getting out of that. We're going to go through whatever it is that's come up, that's afflicted us. Sometimes individuals get sick or something befalls you, and there's this sense of nobody has it worse than me. This is the worst suffering that anybody's experiencing. Just this type of sense. I have it so bad. So having that type of thinking when a situation comes up, or you're really sick, having some sort of suffering, torment, really only serves to increase the degree of the experience of suffering and brings about absolutely no benefit. It doesn't get you any better thinking in that way. So instead of that, we can take it as a practice, visualizing, changing our perception. Particular thinking, that having the thought, the aspiration, may my suffering, my illness, whatever it is right now, may all those beings that are suffering like this, all beings that are sick, may all of their sickness and suffering ripen in me. May my experience of this suffering suffice for all sentient beings. May all sentient beings be completely free of their suffering. May all of it ripen on me, their sickness, their torment. And may they be have the happiness and well-being of being completely free of illness and suffering. Really thinking in that way. Then if you do that, then the inclination to have a thought of like, woe is me, self-pity, my situation is so poor, which really is a very hard and heavy ego clinging on to ourself, only identifying with ourself, clinging hard to ourself, then that will naturally dissipate, be eliminated by our power of focusing on the situation of others. And instead of lamenting our own situation, wishing to add on to that, connecting it to the experience of all others. May all others that have similar torment, may I take that on myself. if we think in that way, then also our own mindset's transformed and we are happy. It lightens our load. Our own personal experience of suffering decreases greatly from that. And really, we can arrive at a state of happiness and peace and well-being just by thinking in this way. It's really a power, a unique feature of just the mind, that we can overcome suffering in this way. Because really what we call suffering isn't any independently existent, singular, definable thing that's like immutable, unchangeable.
Then, that 장교스 받아서 이제 최대 강을 정말 가서 양보이나 강을 양을 제어야 아마 제어야 이나야 대서 그 내가 냠스 용어도 맞도 동안 냠스 용어도 이제 최대 배는 just 생긴 찍 최대 가르발랑한 양 되니 가서 찍 냐와를 찍을 차네요 저는 나 그 가서 문제 가서 다때라 네 저번에 대점적 때는 거기서 생쇼이나 같이 했더니 까봐요 봤더니 그냥 내가 차로도 말도 대 너무 작은 거 근데 선상 빼나 애니 말한지 대답하고 빼나다 너네게 생쇼기 이해나 된 가서 이해 다 되네 그 당도 남한테 힘덥죠 이거나 너무 때 내가 차 강할때 민법차 그러나 얘니 뭐게 맞아 개발을 차 나그 전에 써놓은 별도 그래
개발이 민개발이
뭐게 맞아 고조더니 개발을 줬지 나그 전에야 써놓은 별도 그래 내 대한 상관치 싸도 그래 삼바대 상도 그래 랑이게 들에서 주는 거 집 랑이 제일 대금도 빼는다 알아서 그 집에네 빼는다 나섰다고 하나 또 하다고 집이 상호 동당이 집지나 대화를 줄이고 집지나 동화를 줄 집지나 대화를 줄 집지나 대화를 줄 집지나 먹게하는 줄 딱딱이 대금도 생기 체발할 때니 이제 이제 체발이 차르고 있어.
For example, the bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas who go through all sorts of suffering or torment, or difficulties, austerities, difficulties, experience all sorts of things for the sake of accomplishing the welfare of others, for the sake of altruistic endeavors, sentient beings. Then really, for such bodhisattvas, those experiences are happy. There isn't an actual experience of suffering when they're going through those trials or extreme difficulties that may appear as suffering. For them, and for an individual that truly has the power of mind, of altruism, and any such situation can be experienced as bliss, as happiness. For a true bodhisattva, they willingly take birth in hell for eons for the sake of a single sentient being. And if you truly have the power of heart to do such a thing, then there will be no experience of suffering to do that. When it's truly an altruistic endeavor, when one's mind is truly developed to that degree, then any such difficulty is experienced as bliss, as happiness. And when it's truly focused on accomplishing the welfare of others, when one can actually willingly take up suffering, any situation for the benefit of others, then whatever that situation is experienced as happiness. So with such a power of mind, then what appears as suffering will be experienced as happiness. What seems to be difficult conflict or a horrible situation will serve to increase the power of one's heart or one's mind. What was non-virtuous becomes virtuous. All based on one's mindset and the power of one's intention and mindset. Based on one's mindset, then such a negative situation, illness, sickness, suffering, torment, whatever it may be, becomes potential for increasing one's merit. One's own purpose is benefited as well. It's become meritorious, virtuous. One's own mind becomes more excellent, kinder, better. Point being that it's all contingent upon one's mindset, one's perspective of how something is experienced, like illness, terrible sickness. Whether it is experienced as suffering or as peace and well-being is entirely contingent upon one's mindset. Whether, likewise, something is virtuous or non-virtuous. It's all contingent upon one's mind and one's perspective.
Benatan sanji shakya toba tawa, pagwa jeneza tawa, nyabariyang tawa, jizun roma tawa. Tena yin tsabi lama, te tawa tiso. Ngarang zuwa, kwa la machaba. Jisi namka, neji pata. Dongha la machaba. Sembien teni nga zu, jisi neji pata. Sembien ji tangzhu yak. Teni peta jisi, nyingzo pishima meba. Senge tawa teni duwa. Loho senge tawa. Khunzu senge tawa ji. Nga zu sengchok tawa ji gore. Senge bukta. Nga zu sengchok tawa ji jeli. Khunzu jeba nangi ji. Nga zu jeli yin. Tenya tawa ji taba shok. Wa doos je jene teni tamja ji.
So this being the case, then we look at our own teachers, our own masters, the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, Buddha Shakyamuni, Chinresi, Manjushri, Aryatara, our own root guru. We look at their lives and their intentions. Without any fear of samsara, they act without their power of their mind ever wavering. As long as space remains, they, without wavering, endeavor remain in samsara to work to alleviate the suffering of beings. As long as there are sentient beings with suffering, they remain without their fortitude wavering. When we say it's like they're like lions, bodhisattvas, the great beings. Their courage and strength of heart is like a lion. There's absolutely no fear in them. Their fortitude of mind, their integrity of mind is never trampled, never decreases. So this is what we're after. This is the type of mind, the type of bodhicitta we need, the lion-like power of bodhicitta. So we contemplate on that. When we think of that, recognizing that that is what we need, that's the type of attitude, the type of mindset we need. And then we think, I need that. And then on top of that, the aspiration of, may I become just like them. May I have power of mind, power of heart, exactly like these great masters, like the enlightened beings. May this come about for me. May I have this mindset, this strength of integrity, of altruistic endeavor. And then we make it a vow. We vow to train, to give rise to this. So really this is how we're to be training and thinking of bodhicitta.
다 대답을 제 토바 쇼 삼진이 뭐는지 내려와 다 대답을 제 토바 아니 다 쏘았다 오다 도스제는 다 말하는 거지 다 나중에 봤다 이제 왔다 이제 오다 도스제는 와서 먹이 지어버리나 말하는 거 아니 랑신 그 맞아 Sambadaya, and then Sang Dro, Ninko Children, that found the law. Any of the worst jet in the around the purchase, and yeah, and Rinpoche, Jiangqiu ji sem sengye de so. Na che ma chi ba de so. Sa de jie wang ya. Jie ba yin ne, so tam jie yang. Gong de pai zhuo ya. Ma nian ba. Oh, de le ge ba yo le. Da de de ma zo ma ba sen jie ge lao ya. Ne da de ge de ma zo da zo song si.
Aspirations too, that may I be able to do this. And supplication prayers as well. Please bless me that I may be able to do this, to truly have this power of mind, bodhicitta. So this is how we're to train in these 3 phases. The phases of equalizing, then exchanging, then cherishing others more than oneself. We train progressively in these ways as a practice of Lojong, mind training. And if we do this, if we train our minds in these ways, then naturally our mind becomes more excellent. The power of our mind, the integrity of our heart becomes stronger, greater. So in these ways, then, we train in this way to engender precious mind of enlightenment where it has yet to arisen. Where it has arisen, training in this way develops bodhicitta further and further and ensures that it will not degenerate. So we're to train in this way. These 3 particular trainings, as described by now, are the precepts or the trainings of related to aspirational bodhicitta. Then next we have the trainings or the precepts of bodhicitta of application, which in a concise way we can say are the trainings in the 6 paramitas. So of these 6, the first 5 of generosity, discipline, or ethics, patience, diligence, and meditative concentration, or samadhi, are at once what we call the paramitas of skillful means, or the paramitas with reference point. And likewise, these 5, with regards to the 2 accumulations to be amassed, fit within the accumulation of merit. Then the 6th paramita, share of transcendent wisdom, amasses the accumulation of primordial wisdom, the other of the 2-fold accumulations to be amassed, and is non-referential, the accumulation of primordial wisdom beyond reference point.
치마대 시럽 초서는 따와도 초차고 양절 누나 탑다 시럽니스 하셔야 되는 거는 또 따와도 껴봐니라 되네 두고 그래서
So when we say skillful means or method, these first 5 being related to skillful means or method, really we're it's in relation to them being actual conduct, our behavior, our conduct, the actions we go about. And then Sherab, the 6th paramita of transcendent wisdom, relates to one's view, So we can divide these the 6 paramitas between skillful means, that one's conduct, and transcendent wisdom related to one's view. So we can also divide them based on conduct and view.
얘네 다 되라요 양절면 현다시 따고 얘나스 얘네 탑지 초도 탐지나 얘네 다당가랑 저 얘네 세완매방 세완매비 껴방 양나 민계 정보는 들고 세완매비 껴봐 양나 탑 민계 정보는 들고 치마대 얘네 다 시럽스리데 공간이는데 너나 때문에 너 어떻게 너 생이 되게 혹시 sama 타마 되나 탑도 시럽스에도 이게 나는 들고
We want to give them another name. We can call so skillful method. Skillful means is conduct which avoids all harm, the conduct that has no malice, that does not harm ever. Or we call that the skillful means of great compassion. Then with shed of transcendent wisdom, we call that to emptiness. The view of emptiness is what we call transcendent wisdom. So within the entirety of the teachings of the Sutra Yana vehicle, of the Mahayana, everything can be contained within this dichotomy of skillful means and transcendent wisdom. All the features of all the teachings of the Sutra vehicle can be subsumed within these two categories.
That's 다 대양스 얘네 다양한 저거 배는 얘네 냠는 저 좀바도 jar와이나스 얘네 하루도 침발 좋대 얘네 말한 저 얘네 말 남절은 밖에 jar와이나 라바 소면 jar와이네 얘네 수참절 라바 수참절 라바 뛰는 라바 싫어질 라바스 맞죠 간자게 퍼치바 도데 냠는 제나 카리스 제거스는 라바 손가 나는 두고 있어.
So when relating to practice, to taking the 6 paramitas into our own experience, to making them our spiritual practice, really the stages of the path of these 6 paramitas, we fit within the classification of what we call the 3 trainings. So the 6 paramitas, when taken as a practice, are to be understood within the context of the 3 trainings. So we have the training of discipline, or the training in ethics. That's the first. Then the second is the training in meditative concentration, and then the training in transcendent wisdom. So for an individual practicing the 6 paramitas, we can understand them and practice them within these 3 trainings.
다 대양스 짐바 수참 사바승보대 수참절 라바래 수참절 라바
So the first 3 paramitas of generosity, discipline or ethics, and patience or tolerance fit within the first of the 3 trainings, the training in ethics or discipline.
얘네 다 되는 거는 저 땡승절라바 생이고 다 땡승절라바 생인데 얘네 다 가랑 저 냠는 것도 속게 제버이나 되네 신이서도 오 신이서 쌤 시발니 박등에서
In the training in meditative concentration, for practitioners, we understand this training to be the meditative practice of training in shamatha, calm abiding, namely training in the meditative stability of gaining the power to have the mind abide peacefully, is the second training, the training of meditative concentration.
아니 다 시럽 생인데 얘가 더 많은 거예요. 다 도도 진시는 되네. 낙통 남바라 또 시럽스. 되네 다 되는 거죠. 다 가르쳐 낙통도 되는.
남파 밑도 다음에 또
낙통 남 다음에 또 낙통 다음에 또 시럽스.
then with Shara, or transcendent wisdom, training in transcendent wisdom. Often we can have many different divisions, different ways of understanding this, different types, divisions of this. It comes down to, and in our context, the transcendent wisdom is the training in the Lojong, the Vipassana, or the direct insight, which is the wisdom that realizes selflessness, or the lack of independent identity in all phenomena. So that's how we're to understand it here. The training in transcendent wisdom is the wisdom which realizes selflessness.
다 대내성상 다 전주대 탐체의 조정을 이나요. 다또 아니 탐체의 조정을 이나 다 조다다. 탑지찬 대양 탑지찬아. 아니 뭐고요.
Did we leave one out? Diligence. Diligence is really the friend to or catalyst for all the rest. Serves to bring about all the other paramitas. And it's primarily categorized within the class of skillful means.
Penasram songona turn bore. Something gonna turn bore. Something gonna turn bore. And Tatanga so penachisa and Tatum penachisa and Diane, to Carissa. Check when I have turned bore. And Joe won't have turned bore.
To guard one's discipline ethics, one needs diligence, joyous effort. To train in meditative concentration, you need joyous effort or diligence. Train in Vipassana, whatever it is, to engage in analytic meditation, placement or resting meditation, all of it requires diligence or joyful effort.
다 워낙 탑지차 쓰니까 건조 오라보잖아. 건조라 인게 하루도 침봤었는데 마인드 투구를 해서는 투구 말했어. 가르스나 그랬더니 지마 장관처럼 장관서가 장관 3대 장관을 없지. 이 하루도 침봤었나? 하루도 침봤었나? 말하는 수가 되네. 가르스다. 그랬더니 스바 감성적 화환이 하루도 갈고요. 하루도 침봤어. 고고요나? 가? 되는 말하는 수가 되네. 다 가르쳐요. 다음에 고백해. 답변을 해서 똥이 되게 좋아서 집어지고 고고요. 이게 다음에 또 보게 되면 되게 시럽되게 지 선바이나 하루도 집만 주고 그래. 애미나 하루도 놓고 말. 영침은 너는 가려 그래서는 뭐만 맥매방라. 맥매방라스. 아니 가르쳐요. 매여봐 집. 나 튀나? 이거 사마 돈 팔로 놓고
때문에 원시 나 참나 여기 밑에
맥매방 뭐가 맥매주는 뭐가 쓰다가
나
하루도 침박 나대 뭐만 맥매다. 이 시대지 하루도 침박이 되네. 남지 보조나 빼놨다 생겨 사바지가는 매일 뭐 찌개나 그냥 뭐만 나대 고서 팔 치서나 그 팔을 쭉 팔을 가는 로트로 와. 된다고 지었다. 대 탐지나요? 그냥 가서 가르쳐요. 얘네 똥이 있더니 지스마이나 팔도 침박어요. 이 민나 팔도 로트고요. 맞대서 팔도 침박 매일 못 없어. 됐더니 영침이 건도는 들이 그랬어.
regarding 5 paramitas, 5 trainings of related to skillful means, the first 5, they aren't necessarily transcendent things, not transcendent generosity, transcendent discipline, and so on. There's something they require. So we talk about mere generosity, mere discipline, mere patience, mere meditative concentration that are not transcendent. Paramita literally meaning transcendent, or having gone to the far shore. So in order for them to truly be the paramita of generosity and so forth, or the transcendent generosity and so forth, requires that they're embraced with emptiness, namely embraced with the 6th, the transcendent wisdom that realizes selflessness. If that is the case, if the actions, the conduct of generosity and so forth are embraced with the realization, are embraced with emptiness and the wisdom that realizes, which is the wisdom that realizes selflessness, then they're transcendent. Then it's transcendent generosity, and so on and so forth. This is discussed, or analogy for this is given in Prajnaparamita Sutra, Yumchenmo Sutra, where it says the 5 paramitas are like a blind person with all their faculties, and transcendent wisdom is like one individual with eyes, where all the faculties or functions are there, 5 functions are there, but the individual lacks eyes, doesn't know where to direct themselves. So the wisdom of emptiness acts as the guide that has eyes, that directs the conduct of the 5 paramitas of skillful method. So, the sutra states this, that lacking emptiness, the paramitas of skillful means will not have the name, cannot be titled paramita of generosity and so forth. It requires they be embraced with emptiness, with wisdom that realizes selflessness.
오다 들지요나 되니 하루도 친구 짐발라서 보다 레레레 이게 찌듯으나 하루도 친구 잘.
So first, when embraced with renunciation, the mind of renunciation, then embraced with the wisdom that realizes selflessness, and embraced with the view of emptiness. Really, these 3, when one's conduct, when generosity and so forth are embraced with these 3, then they, through those actions, they truly become capable of leading one to the far shore. It transcends all samsara, cyclic, the 3 realms of cyclic existence. When embraced with these 3, generosity and discipline and so forth, then truly become capable of leading one to transcendence.
짐바보 되니 다키 되니 짐바비 짜라체 되니 짐비기 열체 다티게 짜라테 되니 다 찬소 마되니 젠고레스.
So for example, we can take generosity as an example, a single act of generosity. So we have the giver, the agent, the person that's going to, give, make the act of generosity. Rinpoche says, "Here I am. I'm going to give something. Here's my," and then we have the thing to be given, my thing right here. So this is my thing. That's mine, and I'm going to give it to the objects of my generosity. I'll give it out to you guys. So we have these 3: the agent who's going to engage in the action, the thing to be given, my thing, which I'm going to part with to you all, the objects of generosity.
쳐줘 말이야.
That being said, if I give some of this to you all out there, and there's any sense of avarice or covetousness in my mind, then it will not be virtuous at all.
징, 이나영, senada. 지금은 그냥 이마동 쓰는 데서 senada, 야, 무게가 됐어 그랬어.
Should I give? Shouldn't I give? Okay, I gave it away, but I kind of want it back. That sense of covetousness, whatever it may be. Then maybe from the actual giving, maybe there's a bit of merit from there, but then that regret of the covetousness, then the action will probably become non-virtuous in itself.
나는 정말 제서 얼마 진, 근데 제가 강가 조선을 진비기 때문에 팔도 침발을 했어요. 내가 말했어.
Or maybe I don't have any avarice towards my whatever dried fruit here at all. I give it all away. So then, if I give it all away, I have nothing left to give. Then, again, that in itself, being out of something to give, it does not perfect the practice of generosity.
양에도 맞지. 지나서 강가 참 다들 아무도 시합 놓고도 나를 보면서 지나서 참아 다 보면서 지나서 참참 다 보면은 아동한테는 김밥을 주네. 저버려면서는 저서 김비리 얼더니 다 매가 차는다. 다들 나를 보면서 내가 다른 때 입을 바로 집어 줘요. 그러면서 줘 말했어.
Or I give you all this, and, you have a little bit, and then they, okay, no more. I don't want any more. It's too sweet. I'm satisfied, satiated, don't need any more at all. So then there's really no more objects to make my offerings of generosity to. I've satisfied all potential objects of my act of generosity. That likewise, even there being no objects to receive my generosity, does not perfect the paramita of generosity.
제정 다 당고되라 나게 되는 거 같다. 인종을 쓰세요. 인계 전부 진로도 진불 놓고. 점바 매베게 되는 거 같고 나는 점바 매베. 다 탐지기 또 생도 통고.
Point really is to initially give rise to this a sense of renunciation, which relates to our ability to give rise to compassion. Renunciation, which is the free of any sense of clinging or avarice towards whatever the objects may be. And then in relation to that, we have compassion towards others that can receive something from us. And then having that sense of mind, then we have the mindset of giving, of wanting to give free of all sense of clinging, initially based on this sense of renunciation. So then in that way, really what we're to develop, the point is to develop this mindset of giving.
다 얘는 되는 거라는 좀 그랬나 아니. 얘네 더더 얘네 말하는 저 그랬나 아니. 삼모 야보지 땅 왜이나? 얘네 말하는 저 얘네 다 생이지. 마지막 당연히 다 생인데 다 현재는 다 생이지. 라인 그래야지. 녀요 말이지.
And ultimately, if we really consider it, think about it well, what we call me, what we call self, in this instance of generosity, the giver, the agent who's giving, me who's giving, if we really look into it, analyze it, there's nothing that can be found. There's no actual giver that you can pin down, that you can find to be truly or independently existent.
대나이 다 인비기 요를 써와. 요 때문에 지나서라고 지래요. 마다 맞는 게 생각하는 줄. 지 여반라고 줄. 아신 쟤는 대형 주바요 말했어.
Likewise, the recipients of generosity, you all, whom are receiving this act of generosity. If we don't analyze it, don't look into it, investigate the situation, then it seems that you're all here, that you all exist. But if we really think about it, if we investigate it using a logical analysis, then you all, the recipients of generosity, likewise cannot be said to exist in any true way. Likewise, the substances to be given as well. When we look into it, those likewise, we can't find anything that actually truly exists, an independently existent thing that is there to be given, can't be found. Really, if there was anything that was naturally or truly established, truly existent, then if that's how things were, then samsara would be naturally and truly existent. And if it was naturally and truly existent, then how could it ever be destroyed, changed, eliminated? How could we ever transcend it? Investigating, analyzing in this way, having this be our view or perspective, analyzing like this is what we mean by embracing the act with the transcendent wisdom of selflessness, which is what needs to be done. We need to embrace it with the understanding of the lack of inherent existence of identity, of self. That which doesn't exist but appears, appearing while not existent. Really, what is that? That is deluded appearance, confused appearance, truma. Things appearing. We have appearances of things as if they exist, while in actuality they're not truly existent. Really, what is that like? It's really just like an illusion. Like an illusion, or like a reflection of the moon appearing in water, like optical illusions, things appearing to us while not actually being there, not actually existing. So this, of course, can happen. It's a thing, all sorts of appearances can arise to us. We have an infinite multitude of variety of deluded appearances that are ready to arise and can be experienced by the multitude of sentient beings. Really, they're also just like a dream. Or just like in a dream, we experience things, things appear, but we know that they're not actually truly existent. They're not real. Even though they're not real, they're being experienced as if they were. They are appearing as if they were. They can appear. Appearances, deluded appearances can appear while not actually being existent. They can appear, likewise, they can be recognized and understood for what they really are. They can be experienced. They can lead to various different experiences. So right now there's no dream, we're not asleep. But just like in a dream, although a dream doesn't actually exist, there's no true thing there, still we have the experience of objects, things, appearances, phenomena. All phenomena of diluted appearance are really relative truth, relative and ultimate truth, relative truth, which appear in various different guises and ways to all sorts of sentient beings, contingent upon beings' karma. Diluted appearances are what we call karmic appearances. That until one's karma related to particular dispositions of diluted appearance is exhausted, they will continue to appear. As long as there is the karmic connection to perceive things in a certain way, and the karmic habitual imprints, then such diluted appearances continue to be experienced and perceived. Although they are not truly existent, they are illusory, like diluted appearances based on our own karma. So then likewise, we can engage with them, engage with these illusory appearances. We can amass the accumulations. We can amass the illusory-like accumulations of merit. We can engage in illusory-like virtue. So really, and it's like when you're asleep, until the moment that you're awake, that you've woken from the sleep, then within that sleep state, you're experiencing all sorts of things, all sorts of states of happiness and suffering and sorrow. So likewise for us, until realizing the true nature behind the deluded appearances, which really is the whole reason for embracing whatever actions we engage in with the transcendent wisdom, which is the recognition of the nature, is the waking up aspect. Until that fully happens, then we engage in all sorts of illusory, meritorious actions. The illusory actions of merit, of making offerings to the three jewels and giving to sentient beings and so forth.
신도 공부하지. 도시제들 나는 좋다. 아카도 좀 되지. 맞아. 람지야. 슈키도 땅 보여.
which is why, like, for example, with act of generosity, training in generosity, we start out small, offering small items, small things, then middling acts of generosity, then great acts of generosity, then extremely great acts of generosity. These acts progressively dissipating our karmic habitual imprints. So small act of generosity, starting out with, say, giving a single mouthful of food to some animal, feeding a little bird or something, a tiny morsel of food, up to the acts of generosity of Buddhas and so forth. Buddha Shakyamuni offering his body to the hungry tigress and so forth. The great acts of generosity of offering one's own head and limbs in generosity. Take time.
That's all. Una tatanga tene tapaji so so the thing at the train the desk. That in Nigamma and Rajabu in a train at the desk. That was a joke to be in it. Nikabla 3 marathon preacher at some job with this one at the basement to do chickens.
So this is our last teaching for a while. So we're going to stop here, and we went a little extra, and we'll be continuing these teachings, but for now, for the time being, we'll stop them for a bit.
That's all. That got to tap the shit of Nishias was. That tap the cha. That tap the cha. Dora tene tap the cha tamchi, Joba charis, or Joba cha. Tap Jobi cha tamchi. Yani? That Sewa Meba. Ninja Chambuk. Duko Yor.
So since it's our last class for a while, we'll speak a little bit more about these. We've been talking about the two aspects, top-down shit-up, aspect of skillful means and the aspect of transcendent wisdom. So regarding skillful means method, again, this also we can understand as referring to our conduct. Namely, the conduct that has no malice, that does no harm, the conduct based on great compassion.
다 탑 실험이가 말그 참절쟁이한테 갈래서나 맥밤 매비 네 다음 와서 갈았어 괜히 맥밤 매비 다음 와서 괜히 땡인생들이 나한테 탑당 실험이가 참절을 Really, the
joining factor between the two aspects of skillful means and transcendent wisdom, top and sheta, is non-referential state. Meditative concentration free of reference point really is the joining factor between the two.
가르쳐놨다? 인계 제모대야 타도 그 물감에 받은 생이고도 봐. 근데 songa 다 아니 기업이 담고 인계 제모 물감에 받은 스마지. 다양 실험 그 차대요. 강고 되는 말아서 가르고서 신이 rab도 때문에 사통 그 묘무 자는 rab도 좀 전에 가야 실험을 넣어가요. 강고대 고래서 내내 샘뜨직 내비기 내내 가르쳐 등에 등에 보고 열었어. 신이 빙. 대대 다 아니 다 통은 주바다 아니 당나라서 뭐 인지민이 당고 아니 대고 열었어. 가르쳐 신이 rab도 때 가지고 열었어. 대대 다 Mamote, Mikwa Mebati Mahadu. Ta Mikwa Mebati, and Matokarsa, nothing in 20. Anytime Matokarsa, any Raptor Dembe, any Matokarsa, Temba to Togundu, any Tang Mebiki, any Tangananzo, any Satung Shirp the Jackal. This one the Tachans of Chojin Ninja Bomb, and Chojini Shineko. But I don't know Shineko, Shinayona, Shineko. Any that they mean that kind of Shinese, that kind of same Zig to Miba. Say Jig to Tinga, so what just the Jingas or any the James was, never judge. That didn't answer Dame big young, and so that who to the answer in street concept. Then make up the channels of time, you made it toast chair, and then you might any days who's a ship tracking. Sergeant Sadu, Neanga, they should try to do it at anything else on myself. Sarah might in the silence.
So ultimately, great compassion, aspect of skillful mean, great compassion, needs to be embraced with this state free of all reference points. This non-conceptuality, state free of reference point. That acts of compassion need to be concluded with, embraced with non-conceptual freedom of reference point. And when we talk about transcendent wisdom, famous saying regarding developing transcendent wisdom that realizes selflessness. It says, initially through supreme, or the Vipassana, the direct insight endowed with the highest quality of calm abiding, of the mind's ability to remain single-pointedly, abide single-pointedly. That Vipassana destroys the most powerful of the afflictive emotions, utterly destroys the, vanquishes the afflictive emotions. Meaning phases of developing transcendent wisdom. That to truly develop transcendent wisdom, one has to have this foundation, the basis, or it must be embraced with the meditative concentration of calm abiding. That's needed for direct insight, to truly see the nature of things, the selflessness of things, that one's Vipassana direct insight training is endowed with perfect calm abiding. So these all like flow together like this. We're having the recognition of a non-referential state, that things in their ultimate sense are free from actual true identity of self, and engaging in compassion based on that understanding, and then developing one's transcendent wisdom through the skillful means of calm abiding, training in the ability to remain single-pointedly, going back and forth with these pairing together like this, working together like that. So for the time being, we'll stop now. We'll just say this little bit about these, how this works together. Then when Rinpoche returns from Asia, he'll teach more in depth, particularly on this, on the six pradamitas and how they function together. So for the time being, your homework, you can train in your particular proclivity of meditation, being if you've trained in compassion, developing great compassion, and the conduct of compassion, then focus on that. If you've trained in calm abiding and shamatha, then you can focus on that, or both of these. Training in developing these, and likewise contemplating on the selflessness of things to develop the transcendent wisdom of the realization of selflessness.
Ini tatate ini jaru buchike ini kyoba tswa mebate ini tatanga tsu zaman hide tungores aba tuni de tuni
She did that.
zaman hide
동그래.
둥그래.
동그래.
아니, 아마 공이 돼. 체력이 둥그래. 나무 체력. 나무 체력에서. 아니, 다 되게 났어. 근데 나가다 아니 하라면 근데 나만이 나스기 때문에 잘 말했다. 미용하는 직 사람들 알게 되고 나는 뭐만 있는 데서 서로 참대는 우리가 충동. 다
Which is that?
참대.
욕조죠?
누가 등산한테 대낮에 누가 치워야 하대는 누가 충동. 계산하는데 참대 하대거든. 그만 안 보이는 말은 첫대야 삼도 지요. 근데 다 지금 하대는 해놔서 이렇게. 아니 때문에 맞아 다 지나서 참아되니. 나만 이 이거 제일은 자유는 근데 지나서 참아. 냠내냐고 나오나 녹중 나오나 얘네 다 주소도 써라 얘네 다 나가는 소리 되니 나라 여매 제발 여마 주소도 지나서래 아니 지나서 때문에 맞다 나라는 소부터 인사만 제진 지나서 오늘 냠내지 소과초 얘네 드레스 제진은 말하는 소리니 무슨 제진이냐면 되게 미세게 좀 쉬고
So the Dalai Lama says regarding the conduct that does no harm, it is in perfect accord with the accomplishing peace and well-being of in a worldly sense in society. And the view of emptiness is in accord with modern-day science. Really, these trainings are the science of Buddhism, conduct in accord with conduct of peace and well-being in society, and the view of emptiness in accord with the perspectives of science today. So this week, I'm leaving for Asia for a little more than 2 months. So this year in Asia, I'll be staying in retreat trying to do retreat every year. And in the past, I've done retreat here in Santa Fe at the Mountain House. Before, some issues came up with that, some problems came up, and this year I kind of concluded that staying in retreat in Asia this year would be easier, go smoother, be easier. So we'll be staying in retreat and doing some other things, and we'll be back in a little more than 2 months. So all of you practice well while I'm not here. And also this Dharma Center, or Center at Pema Khandru Ling, really shouldn't really matter whether or not I'm here. It's really your guys' center, all of our Dharma Center. And so continue to practice. Come here to practice. Take these teachings into your experience. Offer soap, kind of chocolate feast offerings. So continue with all of this. This is kind of practice everything we've been discussing. Train in Lojong well, practice well, engage in your spiritual training, and continue to keep this up here, keep the center up, and continue to engage in your practice. For these months while I'm not here, this is my particular request for all of you.
Khenpo Ngagchung 있네요. 손에다 드리니까 위험하이나 될 다르게지는 해결하더니 지나줘야 냠나 미세대 지나줘야 object다 들려줘야 되니 maintenance progress.
Also, Khenpo Ngagchung. We can continue practicing with him, gathering to do Lojong. He, in a month or so, will be leaving too for a bit. While he's here, we can take advantage of it.
Yeah. Didn't that budget didn't channel to that? That's about Mangushieso. Yama Karajena, Wall Senke Gore, and what may have the same way, you don't want man. That the chance Kadu in Maji as.
So to this point, we've taught a lot. There's been a lot we've discussed on teaching. So, in brief, whatever virtue you all engage in, whatever positive actions you engage in, you need to begin it with giving rise to bodhicitta, precious mind enlightenment. Engage in it in the middle without free from reference points, non-conceptual freedom from all reference points, and conclude whatever action that may be with the aspects of dedication and aspiration of the virtue that's been engaged. So please do not ever forget that. So if there are any particular questions we need to ask right now, go ahead with those, and if not, then we'll form the dedication and aspiration. No sound. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Me, Katsu? Some true she.
Voilà, sauce. Ah, ini data tadi. Ini dah ya. Kita taruh yang biasa lah yang ini tu oleh, taruh sarjik ni oleh. Ini, kita sahnya tu misal tu, bongcian ramjang. Ini densurasi. Lepas ni minggu ini masuk sampai. Ini be ini sahnya tu letak misal kicik kicik oleh. Ini macam, aning guna tersoya tak, kau tu tering guna insare. 다 거치고 지금 소침부지 초바지 되다 저바자 되다 말아 저바자 되네 종행로 저바자 되다 되나 인지 아니 나도 트라미를 채우요래 가르쳐서 가지고 어찌 미세한 로직 아니 디지털 쓰고는 맞다 산이라도 와 산이고 나든 지금 저 아니 대연아 되니 야 통계나 계셔 Yeah. So we have one more teaching on 37 practices of a bodhisattva on this Tuesday before Rinpoche departs for Asia. And also tomorrow evening will be the commemoration of the parinirvana of Longchenpa, which is celebrated, commemorated by all Nyingma practitioners, Nyingma school, Nyingma monasteries and centers, by us as well. In Nepal and our nunnery, it'll probably be this evening because day ahead. They have an annual celebration where they do kind of chocolate feast offering, and also debate and some. They will read their own compositions they've been working on. They have this system of celebration that they do every year at this time in honor of Longchenpa. So for us, we'll be doing this tomorrow evening, offering tso. So all of you that are here and available and can come, then please join us at 6:30 if you're in town. That's all we need. That's how any. 아, 대중에 내때는 다다다가 저기 다른도 가만히 나다 가만히 지나서 가만히 여다 상마다 맞아 기봐. 얘네 기봐로 와. 에 상마로 얘네 다다가란 저 얘네 다 되나. 다 같이 나와지 나와 하시래.
네.
뭐 좀네. 같이랬어.
치다 구바. 제추바.
네.
When do we start? September or October? Lojong. October.
That's a data of pattern around with any Jibata. That shed about the chicken. That tiny young Cherans over the net, that bandages of my young Mount Washington, that I can meet in Yams and Lanyards of the chair. And it doesn't get so to give out Yam the Tom chair. And it seemed yet of just 100 of Toba. Jet. And it's shepherd the thing around to Japan to come to make up. I jig around to any make up the Gachian Pachet of the share. Any that did say no, now the cute and it comes in some anything around to any sort of ya. Only a coin of pair. Anything around to send it down the young chickens of any beyond the one last of but go back to something to my schedule. And it was. And it done around to the Saturday and Angola. Let's talk to something only a corner private and it's only go on and it some different on our shows.
So now for all of us that have been receiving these teachings, all of us sitting here physically present and those that have been receiving these teachings, participating and practicing from near and far, wherever you may be, we're all really the same, and that we've been here receiving these teachings, engaging in these practices together for since October, never mind, 4 or 5 months or something. Several months receiving extensively this teaching over these months and practicing as much as we individually were. So all the virtue of at once receiving these teachings, studying these teachings, and then likewise practicing and training our minds and engaging in these teachings of Lojong, that all the virtue of that, of all of us recipients, all the roots of virtue we've amassed together to be lumped in together and dedicated on behalf of all sentient beings, dedicated focus on, dedicated for the sake of every single sentient being attaining complete enlightenment. And also in particular dedicated on in the ultimate sense in that way, and then on the temporary sense, dedicated for the sake of the world, for the universe, that all obstacles, negativity, misfortune be allayed, be pacified, and that everything excellent in both the environment itself, the world itself, and within the minds and hearts of beings increase and develop, and that there be no obstacles to the development of every form of excellence and goodness and kindness that there is. Likewise dedicated for our own mind streams and the mind streams of others to that our afflictive emotions be pacified and decrease, and that everything excellent within our own minds and the minds of all beings increase and develop, and the power and strength of goodness develop. So with those thoughts and dedications in our mind, then we can all together at once recite the prayers of dedication and aspiration.
Excuse me, everyone. I think some of you want to make offering, so let's say the branch prayer, then mandala offering, then let's do the dedication prayer. Okay, so after mandala offering, you can make an offering.
Tagen Tabia Truma Me Zobe Jongjo Sinje Dobe Sunta Lumbolo Serap Jongwe Gewana Bede Jongjo Che Mo Gejo Jongshen Me Do Dam Rab Ling Je Nye De Roger Nanda Shingo Jevara Shon Edam Gorilla Namendala Kamriata Jezegwa Nye Tona Nye Bedana Bamse Balak Rugwa Yezbe Zolen Jova Jova Shu Tambe Labi Korbi Shinkamsa Pendan Jere Zama Tenzin Jamsoya Shapi Sindhya Pardu Tenju Yoga Joya Yeshe Jume Gojin Yabu Sama Tenzin Jogu Tse Sama Suwa Tenju Gutse Remana Surwa Remchana Tashin Jaba Sawa Mama Dantrava Mebarachi.
At this very moment, the people of the nations
Yame Tongje Tingwe Roji Shino Tiwa Yanda Sadana Yandera Zone Pade Lami Gombanyo Shu. Thank you. See you on it?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Ooh.